Welcome to Performance Mesh, Episode 5. I'm John O'Neill, here with my co-host, Eric Manis. Eric, how you doing tonight?
Oh, can you believe that? 5 episodes already? This is unbelievable.
Pretty soon we're going to be like Star Wars, man. There's going to be too many episodes to count.
Oh, my God. That's going to be an episode. And I was thinking for, future segments, maybe I can watch the Star Wars in your order and we can review them.
At this rate, the amount of stuff they're putting out, like if you really want if you really want to get deep dive and go through the Disney Plus stuff, we have a year of content right there.
Yeah, this could be the premier strength and conditioning sports talk radio Star Wars podcast.
I will say, if you are looking for a Star Wars podcast, Children of the Watch is the way to go. Really? I have no affiliation with the show, but anytime something new Star Wars comes out, I am listening to Children of the Watch.
Do you think how much more do you think they know? Not just to give our audience a little backstory. John is fanatical Star Wars fan. Has seen, everything. There's a release. Johnny's going to see the in theaters multiple times.
Yeah, anywhere from 3 to 7.
Yeah, so 7 times. He'll pay to see a Star Wars movie 7 times. So the guy's a maniac when it comes to Star Wars.
And all the stuff on Disney Plus, even the cartoon stuff, like I'm in. Like they have my money. Yeah, they have my money. No matter what they put out. It's honestly like it's like preseason football. Like you're an NFL fan, right? And you know you get the season tickets, it's gonna come with preseason. You're like, all right, whatever, I'll bite the cost. That's the way Star Wars is for me. Like I'll bite the cost of whatever they put out, I'm gonna watch.
Wow. Now, would you consider George Lucas a hero of yours?
No, I wouldn't go that far. I don't really know a whole lot about him personally. I know he does. He does his house have a full-size baseball field at it that he built for his son when his son was growing up. I do know that, so it does combine a couple of my big interests.
Imagine playing baseball with George Lucas.
He's probably not great, but he's probably not terrible. He could probably, I've never seen him throw a first pitch, but my guess is it's an average first pitch.
You think it goes over?
I think it gets over, yeah. I think he has a shot at throwing a strike. So let me put it this way. You're throwing a first pitch, 55,000 people. How confident are you in throwing a strike?
Oh, a strike?
Yeah, you got to be on the rubber, too. George W. Bush, Game 3, 0-1 World Series style.
55,000?
Yeah, 55,000. Packed house, old Yankee Stadium.
And this is this is me right now. My skill level right now.
Yes, it's your skill level right now.
No practice, no build up.
Yeah, you could throw underneath in the tunnel or like in the cage beforehand.
You know what? Yeah, I think I could do it. I'm not going to be GW style. That's a phenomenal 30 for 30 short. That's an all-time.
That is one of those moments in sports, and this wasn't going to be my top 5, but maybe this is going to maybe a future top 5. But that is top 5 most likely moment in sports that give me goosebumps when I watch it.
Oh my God, it's electric.
Yeah, there's that. There's a couple of the home runs in that series in particular. But there's the Tino Martinez home run in '98 in the Game 1 World Series. There's a few. Maybe we'll deep dive. I'll put some thought in this. We'll deep dive. But that George W. Bush one is guaranteed to be top 5.
Oh my God, unbelievable.
So what's your percentage? What percentage likelihood are you throwing a strike?
60%.
Wow. Okay. I was going to say 50-50 for myself.
50-50 for yourself.
I mean, dude, it's 55,000 people. You're on the mound. There's no hitter in there. It's kind of awkward. There's no fielders behind you. It's got to be strange.
I mean, you got to understand something about me. When the pressure's on, I raise the level. I got nothing to back that up, but I'm just going to put it out there.
Now, what do you think? We'll shift topics right after this. For those not that interested in hearing about our first pitches, our potential first pitch in front of 55,000, Cody Ben's on the mound. What percentage chance is he throwing a strike?
It's a 0.
It's 0? Oh, he's an athlete. I'll give him 10 to 20.
It's going to look like 50 Cent.
Yeah, that's bad.
We'll put that in the show notes. 50 Cent first pitch. That will be Cody Ben's.
That's a hot button item. That'll get the clicks.
Yeah. We'll probably get a lot of views on that.
Speaking of getting the clicks, so mailbag episode tonight, midweek, 20-minute episode. I want to talk a little bit about avoiding burnout in the field and creating some work-life balance. So you and I, you got a couple more years experience than I do, both around a decade into the field. There's obviously been times, I'm sure, where you've been burnt out. There's definitely been times where I've been burnt out. I will say it's been a while since I felt that way, just in my current role. I've been in it for 5 years now, but truly like, all right, I don't want to do this style burned out. So what are your experience with that in the field? So we know it's really common. We see a lot of coaches that get in it for a couple of years and that's it. They just can't handle the hours. I guess one, what's your experience with it? Two, what are kind of the ways that you, I guess, practice self-care, for lack of a better term?
Mm-hmm. So I think we're in a profession where you could be up at 5 o'clock in the morning training people and then training people at 8 p.m. right in the same day. So it can be very challenging because basically people are coming to you when they have free time, right? And you just kind of have to make do with that. I've been pretty lucky just working kind of strictly with athletes most of my career, that I've had a pretty good schedule. You do have to kind of deal with like getting home a little bit later when you're working with kids. And that, I've had, doing like the leaving late up early in the morning is tough, but it's kind of something you have to do. I think that's something that has helped me is like, it's not that serious, right? Like we're not doing anything that like is going to cost somebody like millions of dollars. Like if you're working on Wall Street and you make the wrong decision, it could really burn you. But if we choose the wrong exercise, like we could probably just adjust and get out of it. So it's just like, let's not take ourselves too seriously is number one. And I think number two, I think like going to self-care, I've been really fortunate to be in a business group mentorship with Annie McCloy, who's just a absolute savage of a person and rock star. And one of his like
future guest of the show,
future for sure, future guest of the show. But he kind of lays out a daily, kind of like a core 4 things that you have to do every day that as being in the business mentorship that you have to report every single day. So there's kind of four structures of it. So it would be body, business, spirit, and I'm blanking on, and family. So basically, for body, you have to take a greens drink every single day and exercise every single day. So you're taking care of the greens drink is more of like a get start of the day. It's not necessarily like a greens drink is going to make you healthy, but if you're doing a greens drink, you will probably you'll probably eat a little bit healthier that day, right? So just a mindset. Exercise every single day. So I think a lot of people, despite like being trainers, they don't exercise, which is kind of like silly, right? You're telling these people that training is important. I think that training should be a part of your day every single day, even if it's going for a 30-minute walk every single day. So that's the body taken care of. For spirit, it is meditating and journaling every day, which has been a big, has really made a big impact on me. I really, sometimes when I kind of fall out of the practice, I don't even realize like how short your fuse can be if you're not really meditating. So I try to do that. I'm pretty good about getting 10 minutes every day of just sitting, and I use Headspace. It's kind of simple and just use the cues on that, and journaling, some kind of journaling, gratitude. I use the 5-minute journal on my phone every single day, morning and night. For family, it is like texting 2 people consistently over like a quarter that you love and appreciate them. And I just think that kind of just takes care of like, if at least for me, like if things aren't going well in relationship with my parents and my wife, it doesn't really matter if I'm training the New York Jets, right, in our facility. Like, it's probably not going to be going well for me. So just taking care of that, and you really learn like how much that can benefit your relationship if you just send a simple text every single day. And then the last one is business. I went out of order there, but business is just studying something and taking notes or teach. It really is studying something. So either programming or marketing or sales, and then teaching what you learned, which really helps with retention. And if you're going to do this for a long time, you need to constantly improve it. It's something I've kind of went a little bit away from training recently, within the past year. Like I've tried to stay as vanilla as possible, just because I know that's the people that I work with, that's what I need to be doing. And I feel like if I'm studying all these like crazy training manuals and whatever, it's not going to really help me make more money, which is why I'm doing this. So I've kind of tried to dig deeper into marketing and sales and things that will make you better at training. I mean, better at making more money and eventually like growing a business out of it. So that's kind of like my daily self-care. It can be a lot sometimes, because just, you have to get 4 out of 4 every single day. So, but if you kind of lose, Andy kind of talks about, if you lose one of those 4, like your life could potentially suck or go down a spiral. So I think those main 4 areas, if you can kind of keep those intact, like you can avoid burnout.
Dude, that was incredible. I was not expecting something that detailed. So just because I wanted to clarify, and I'm sure someone listening does too, family, business, health, and then what was the 4th one?
So now we actually, the business group is called the Tribe, and now we kind of animated what's it called when it spells out what you're doing. So it's called Tribe. So it's training, relationship, intentional practice, business, and ethos. Okay. There's a tribe. So training, take care of the relationship. Intentional practice is like every quarter we pick like one thing to learn. So like one of the quarters I tried to learn about coding, which was I tried to do it, but like it didn't really go well. But I think like learning something new is important to like keep your brain healthy. And then business and ethos kind of covers that meditation and journaling.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome, man. I mean, we're not going to be able to cover all this in 20 minutes here, and I don't want to have what is said to be a 20-minute episode become an hour and a half, but we should 100% do a follow-up, talk about more on that stuff, because I think all that stuff's really cool. I definitely went into tonight thinking like, all right, we're just going to kind of shoot the breeze and go back and forth with like random things. But I mean, you're a lot more of a machine than you let on.
Oh my God.
You don't
understand.
You try to play off yourself as like fitness everyman, like I'm just a normal guy, but deep down there's a lot of machinery in there.
Oh yeah, listen, like so we meet every week within the group, and actually like this week I really have shit the bed. Like I like went out on Saturday, and like some stuff happened during the week where I didn't like fulfill my end. And like, I kind of like feel like, and this could be like completely placebo, but like kind of feel like I got to reel it back in and like not like lack for a better word, like get a little more centered and like go back to like the daily habits that are going to work. Because if you like kind of fall off track with any of that stuff, you kind of feel like you're just like rattling.
No, that makes a ton of sense. Like I'm definitely like relatively routine oriented in terms of my days being similar. And I got this concept from Mike Ranfone, who's a mentor of mine, but I remember talking to him, I don't know, maybe 4 years ago at this point, as like my work life was like getting a lot busier and being like, all right, well, there's busier people in the world than me. Like, how do they do it? And I remember talking to him and him basically being like, you got to like rank your habits. I don't remember exactly the way he said it, so maybe I'm butchering it, but the way I took it was like rank your habits in terms of what's most important, like schedule your week, what do you have to do, what's your free time, and rank what you value there. And he was like, pick a keystone habit, doesn't really matter what it is. So for me, it's always been training. Like I get my 4 sessions in a week, no matter what. I try to go for a certain amount of steps or a decent amount of walk every day, or a decent distance walk every day, stuff like that. And then obviously that eats up a lot of time. But I find that I'm actually more productive. Like I did 75 hard a couple years ago now with a friend of mine here. It was cool. It seemed a little excessive, to be honest, but I was wildly productive during that time. Like, and which is funny because that whole like program or that concept of that Andy Frisella, the guy who created it, builds, is like it's very time intensive, but it also requires you to schedule your whole day every day. And I'll be honest, like I'm not 365 locked in like that. I'm probably, I don't know, 300, maybe 250 to 300. It's more than half the time, but it's not every day. So for me, it's always been in this field. It's always been like, all right, if we are busy at work, I have to be dialed in with my life, which is it's the opposite of what you think. Because it's like, all right, well, you're busy, let things kind of like, let your free time be less important, whatever. But when we're slow, I can kind of do whatever I want in my free time because I have more of it. I can make sure I'm still training and all those other things that I like to do. But when we're busy, it's like, all right, if I don't like schedule out all this stuff, I'm just not going to get it done. And I will say there was like once in my whole career, there's one summer, whole career, I'm sounding like I'm Derek Jeter's playing 20 years, but no, since I've been in the field, there was only like one stretch of time where I like didn't really train consistently. It was like, all right, just get in a couple whatever blah sessions a week, and it was like, to me, it was like the least gratifying period of my career. It was like probably 2 months in 2018. And
I remember. I think I was around that time. You
could tell you were just like a little bit off. You were not
like I just didn't feel
as happy.
Yeah,
like a little bit, not like short, but like you just fuck you.
Yeah.
So I can totally see that.
Yeah, so like it was just like, all right, well, I need to focus on my work. I had that experience of like I need to focus on my work, let everything else kind of slip. And because of that, everything suffered, like mentally, physically, my work, etc. I doubt like my employers thought like, oh, his work was really bad during that time, but I knew like, all right, this isn't my best product. And so now, like when we're busy, I try to be as locked in as I can be in my like personal life outside of work, which is obviously, this is going to be a much longer than 20-minute topic. We should definitely come back to it. But for me, and what I wanted to get into, to have some fun on this podcast, make it a little less serious for the last 5-10 minutes here. So for me, like part of my day, I always like to end with a TV show, something kind of mindless. Like I'll watch sports at night, etc. But my fiance and I will watch a TV show pretty much every night, 1 or 2 episodes, depending on the length, for we're dating for almost 3 years before we got engaged. So probably together 3.5 years. We've probably done this like 4+ nights a week for like 3+ years. And so I've wound up watching like a lot of good TV, and it's not all like the best TV, but it's all like, all right, we're gonna watch something together. It's like time. It's time together. Something to talk about, shared experience, but 2, that's like winding down to me. That's like what I do before I go to bed, right? So I want to hear and then I'll give mine. I want to hear your top 5 TV shows that you're like, all right, I'm going to consider rewatching a TV show. What are the top 5?
Rewatching okay, so this is my all-time
top 5 TV shows.
All-time top 5 TV shows, and maybe not the rewatch. Maybe the first watch was so impactful that it still ranks in top 5, but you don't really want to rewatch it. So like your top 5 all-time TV shows.
Okay. This is fresh in my mind, so I've been thinking
about this lately. Number 1 is The Sopranos.
Has to be. It's my number 1.
This is the premier Sopranos strength and conditioning podcast in the world. So
we have to put that there. This is number 1. Number 2 is Entourage. I watched the first episode of Entourage the day it came out, and I didn't miss another TV show I've probably seen 10 times. It's an all-timer for me.
And then also, like, you
watch it now, like a lot of stuff, it's funny, like a lot of stuff just wouldn't fly today.
Just
Yeah, I tried a couple episodes of Entourage years ago. Never went back. So I watched maybe 1.5, 2 episodes. I am on board with, if you watch Star Wars, I'll watch Entourage.
Okay, I'm in.
Something to consider. Oh, what's number 3?
Number 3, I
Really liked Narcos Mexico. I thought that was really, really good. Oh, my lovely wife brought me some vanilla soft serve ice cream. How about that? And to finish up the pod.
I will say, like, we are the premier Sopranos strength and conditioning podcast, but we also might be the premier ice cream strength and conditioning podcast.
I don't think any personal trainer
eats more ice cream. Any 2 personal trainers eats more ice cream than us too. Right?
I go in waves. I'll eat ice cream like 6 nights in 1 week, and then I'll take 2 weeks off. It's really not a great way to do it. So in the summer, I probably get 10 ice cream eatings per month in.
But listen, and maybe we can have like
a giveaway where somebody wins a meal with us. We go to Bear Burger in Hoboken, New Jersey, and then we go across the street and we get what was the name? What do we get?
Cold Stone.
Oh, Cold Stone. And then we get Cold Stone.
Cold Stone is unbelievable. I haven't been to one in years, but that place is so good.
So me and Johnny
probably both put on a considerable amount of weight because we were doing that fairly often. But that's a 7,000 calorie meal.
Easily. I mean, you get all your calories for Sunday and Monday doing it that way.
Yeah. Okay, back on topic.
Narcos Mexico. What's number 4?
Narcos Mexico. Stranger Things.
Okay.
Another Netflix.
Also, so you're at 3 in a row I've never watched. I've never actually, yeah.
And I've watched a lot of good shows that I didn't finish, but I guess I can't really put it on here. But Breaking Bad, I didn't watch the last season just because it was too intense for me.
The last season is by far the best season of Breaking Bad.
I know, but they in the first episode, the kid, one of the characters shoots a kid.
Yeah,
I was like, I'm out. Like I was like up all night. I couldn't.
That is, speaking of, like, people will argue with Walter. Yeah, like I think we talked about this before. This comes up a lot in our conversation. But Walter White is just not a likable character. Tony Soprano has likable qualities.
I mean, there's not a lot of likable characters in the entire show.
No, and that's one of the things I struggle with. So I'll give you a clue here. Breaking Bad just missed my top 5. I have seen all of it. In fact, about a month ago, I missed 2 days, maybe 3 days. I think it was 2 days of work with a sinus infection. Thought I had COVID, kept testing negative. It wound up being a sinus infection. I felt worse than when I had COVID. I had COVID last year. Felt worse than when I had COVID. But Breaking Bad was on AMC, just season 5. And I picked up in episode 1 of season 5. I watched all 16 episodes of season 5 within those 2 days. Wow. And it is like, you got to go back and watch season 5. It is like, if every season were as good as season 5 Breaking Bad, that would be like number 1 or 2 for me. But the first like 3 seasons I found like okay. I just feel like the storyline is just like so ridiculous. Whereas some of the other shows, all the shows I'll mention have like very believable characteristics within them. So number 1, Sopranos, obviously, and that's if you had to give like a rating to this, Sopranos would be like so far above the rest of them for me. Sopranos would be like numbers 1 through 10, and then they'd pick up at 11.
Wow! My
God. Game of Thrones number 2. So I think Game of Thrones has not fallen out of favor, but the last season was so underwhelming. I don't want to say it's bad; it was just disappointing. That they had like a great 7 seasons and then just fell apart in the last season. So Game of Thrones for me is number 2. You gave, especially through about midway through season 7, it's unbelievable. It's a great watch.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah,
I don't think I'll watch that either. It's too many hours.
It's a lot of hours, but that's the kind of TV, like, that to me is like they're the best shows. They have a lot of depth. Number 3 is Curb Your Enthusiasm. I can rewatch Curb any episode, anytime.
That's a good show because
You don't need to watch. You can watch any episode and it'll be hysterical.
I've seen, and it's hard to quantify the more recent seasons because there's one that came out last year. But when Curb comes out, when they release a new season, I watch Sunday night when it comes out. Then I rewatch like Wednesday morning sometimes at like 7 a.m. And then I might rewatch again before the next week Sunday if I have time to kill. So I watch. I've seen every episode of Curb at least 2 or 3 times, and then the older seasons I've probably seen 5 to 8 times each. I can rewatch that show anytime. I think it's so funny.
It's hysterical.
It's so funny. It's also like there's believable elements in it. You know, that's one of the key tenets to this list here. Number 4 is Mad Men.
Wow. Okay.
I really like Mad Men. Mad Men, same kind of thing where I could watch anytime. Like if it's on TV, I'll watch a few scenes. It's a little bit of a slow pace, but it's like it's a very relaxing pace. If that makes sense. So that's a great wind down at night show. Number 5 is Yellowstone. Just watched it actually this year. Watched all the seasons this year. Probably finished, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. It was early, like winter this year. Loved it. Definitely want to rewatch.
Yeah, I watched the first or second episode. First episode. I want to watch it because
I know it's good. I think I also have to get Paramount Plus.
Yeah, every so we watched it on Peacock. We watched it on Peacock. There's so many of these now, man. Like I was going through like bills the other day, and
spend $200
during baseball season. So I pay for the MLB package, which is like $35 a month on my provider. My cable, internet, MLB package, and all these subscription things is like $300. It's wild.
Wow.
Yeah. It's
and it's like you're a number, you know, if you're giving people financial advice and you're paying
$300 for on entertainment, that's a lot of money.
Entertainment that I really only use between like 7 and 10 p.m. But I will say like, and then I'm like looking at bills and be like, oh, I guess this is where my money goes. And I don't even pay for all of it. Like Amy pays for the Netflix, she pays for Peacock. I think she pays for Hulu. Like she pays for half of them, so it could be like $330. So, but hey, this is if you want to have work-life balance in the field, you gotta have something like that.
you gotta spend the big bucks on your
your stuff, right?
Yeah, you got to. Yeah. The shows that just missed my top 5 were Breaking Bad, Lost. I loved Lost back in the day, but I haven't watched it in forever. And I also remember the last couple seasons there being a train wreck. Like seasons 1 and 2 were great, and then each one falls off after that. And then I didn't know how to quantify this because it's in the Star Wars universe, but it's also a great show, The Mandalorian, which has 2 seasons. They're coming out third season later this year. That is a really good like Star Wars fun. But those would make top 10. They didn't quite make top 5 for me. The Wire. You ever watch The Wire?
You know, another one I watched a couple episodes.
I didn't get the momentum going.
So Yellowstone. You ever watch Ozark?
Yes.
Ozark.
Another show I had
to stop watching because it was too intense.
It's too intense. Yeah. Ozark got me first episode. So did Game of Thrones. So did Sopranos, stuff like that. However, what was it? Yellowstone, it took until episode 3 where I was like, all right, I'm locked in. Episode 1 was like kind of I remember episode 3. The Wire, I gave it 6 episodes of not loving it. And then episode 7, it started to catch me. And then I went through all the way through the end of it.
I think that's a Mesh podcast guest
Doug Kajijan's favorite show, The Wire.
Hey, it's a good choice, right? It's right outside my top 5, somewhere in the top 7 or 8. And it is really, really good. You gotta kind of give it 5 or 6 episodes. It's a little slow to start.
Yeah. What? And I know. Just a quick question. What did you
Think
think?
about my point on this isn't that serious of a job.
Do you agree or disagree? Like,
yeah, no, I mean,
did
look,
I get my point across?
yeah. So I think
We're not doing brain surgery here, like.
look, I understand what you're saying, right? I
I,
was I obviously know, like, if people are listening to strength and conditioning podcasts, they do take the job seriously. Like, we take the job. So sometimes if
I
you
take job very seriously.
yeah, when you like, sometimes you can hear that and say like, oh, well, they don't take the job seriously. It's like, no, it's not that. It's just that, like, I think it's a really easy way to have like poor family life, poor social life, poor relationships, uh, like with other people, relationship with yourself, like just like happiness in life if you are 18 hours a day strength and conditioning, like purely like X's and O's of strength and conditioning. And to be honest,
Yeah.
like, here's a good future podcast question for people, but if people like walk by me on the floor, there's a better chance I'm talking about Star Wars, TV shows, or sports,
Baseball. Yeah.
yeah, with people than there is on that I'm talking strength and conditioning. Like, you want to be successful in this field, have stuff to talk about with people.
You really do. I mean, and listen, you work one-on-ones with you did 35 one-on-ones a week, right? You can't do that many one-on-ones if you're just talking, learning about training all the time.
Well,
You gotta like
Be watching sports and watching shows every once in a while to decompress.
In our environment too, like, every day I'll go back and forth between talking with like a 13-year-old, an 18-year-old, or like a 17-year-old, a 22-year-old, a 50-year-old. Like, we've got a pretty consistent crew of adults ages 45 to, we have a guy who comes in who's 74. Like, I can't just like you can't have one topic to talk to them about. And guess what? Like, there is a select percentage of those people who want to talk the X's and O's of training, but it's much lower than you think when you get into the field. When you first get in the field, you think like, oh, people are going to want to know, like, why do I have 3 sets of 5 on this? And then you realize a lot of these people are just paying you because they don't want to know why you have to do this.
What do you think the
Balance, if this is just hours per week, what do you think you have to, how many hours a week do you have to put in to stay relevant and like sharp at being a coach? How many hours a week do you think you have to put in, like, studying and learning new stuff, or just consuming stuff?
That's a great question. We should make that like part of next week or the week after Wednesday night episode. But so I have a couple theories on this. I kind of, to use an SEC term here, I kind of periodize my Con Ed. When we're slow, I try to learn a lot. When we're busy, I try to just like spend my free time like managing my life outside of training, outside of like training people. And so there are periods in the summer and midwinter and midsummer. So there's about June, July, December, January are busiest months. In those months, like, my Con Ed is basically just like looking stuff up after an eval maybe I had a weird eval, I want to look something up. Maybe I'm writing a program and I just want to clarify something. But it's not like I'm going to study this for an hour. When we're slow, we have like 4 busy months, 3 slow months, and kind of like 5 moderate months. When we're slow, I might spend 60 minutes a day trying to do something, right? Or take a course or take multiple courses at a time or whatever. But there are months, my guess is there are months where I do stuff like 30 hours of Con Ed in a month, in like April, right? May, for example, right? Or have in the past in those months. And then there are months where I legitimately do like 3. I don't really think that's the wrong way to do it. I also,
maybe for like a year 1 coach, like, you probably should be doing stuff.
My old job, like before I worked up here, before I worked up here, it was probably closer to an average of 30 to 60 minutes a day consistently for 300 days a year. But you put that it's like money in the bank, right? You put that away, you actually learn something, you have it in your back pocket. And a lot of my what I consider to be my Con Ed now is like teaching. I'm running usually 2 meetings a week at work. I'm running at least one of them, sometimes running both. And so I have to teach an hour a week. And so just like,
yeah, I mean, and that's the benefit of teaching, right? Like you're probably a much better practitioner now than you were
before you started working in Massachusetts, just because you had to teach everything that you know.
Yeah, totally. So like, I think if I didn't have I don't always, all this stuff has context, right? Or it needs context too. If I didn't have that role, right? So I'm probably teaching on average about an hour and a half a week, right? In terms of like structure, this is what we're talking about. And that's most of the year, let's say 50 weeks a year, 48 weeks a year. And so even in months where my Con Ed, like for my own time is low, I still have to do that. So it's still like showing up. The way I explain this to people is actually a Dan John analogy. So my interns are gonna be like, oh, he's talking about this again. But the Dan John analogy is a bus bench and a park bench, like relationship in terms of time and life for everything. And so the goal is to always show up to a bench, except the bus bench, it's high pressure. You're anxious. You need to get there on time. The bus better be on time. Like you better be on top of your stuff on the bus bench, right? You can't just show up anytime and spend as much time as you want there. That's like to me, that's like when I'm trying to learn a lot. So like I'm trying to learn a lot of something new. The park bench is like you just show up and sit there and read the newspaper and play on your phone and whatever. You just sit there and observe things. There's no time pressure. There's no very little, like very relaxing. That's like, but you're still showing up, right? So if work feels like a bus bench in terms of what's going on during the workday, my Con Ed becomes park bench, and then flip that, and then you can flip that. So when we're slow at work, I'm busy. I occupy more of my time with Con Ed stuff, and so that's kind of just the way I approach it. But I think that could be a whole episode within itself.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we're content machines. Like think about the episodes that we have lined up just into that.
Yeah, I mean, you guys should be excited. Like, if you're a listener and you're not like, I mean, look, we're not here to win an Emmy, right? Can you win an Emmy from a podcast? Probably not, right?
No, there is. Remember Talking Sopranos?
They want to, yeah.
Okay.
Listen, there's an award for ice cream eating strength coaches. We won that. We won the award.
Yeah, we're not here to win an Emmy. I'd rather have 150 to 100 extremely loyal listeners than 1,000 who are not that into it. So, if the topics that we're presenting aren't stuff that gets you excited for the future episodes, like it's okay. We'll live. Yeah.
But, hey, we're taking this to the top, though.
Don't forget it.
All right. I guess that's a wrap, right? We'll pick up next time.
And I think that people have to understand also that if we say
20 minutes, it could be 40.
Well, we got into it today. Well, it's because I asked the question in the beginning, and I thought you were just going to say something like, "Yeah, I try to get my training in, eat my vegetables and whatnot," and you went, and you went full bore on that.
Yeah.
Like
I did.
I was a coach standing on a blocking sled, right? Not really paying attention because I thought you were going to be the guy that kind of hits it but doesn't move me, and you knocked me on my ass.
I knocked you on your ass. That's a daily occurrence.
Like you drove that sled back 10 yards and then I fell off. That's how that question felt compared to the expectation.
That's great. I'm glad I can knock you on your ass.
All right. Anyways, listeners, we'll be back soon. Any closing words?
We're looking forward to a great guest on Sunday.
It's TBD, but I'm sure we're gonna knock somebody's socks off.
Oh, not wrong about that. All right. Talk soon, folks.